Hey you, yeah, you've been itching to get into real estate, whether as an investor or as a consumer looking for a primary residence. But you know what? It's been short and tough getting a down payment or closing costs. Hey, but you've got an option, 401ks. Up next, I'm gonna show you how we use and leverage our 401ks to get a slice of the American dream. Thank you for joining me once again. Efren Reyes here, Real Expert Consulting. And before we get and jump into 401ks and how to leverage it to get our first investment property or our primary residence, be sure you make sure that you comment below on this video, and any questions, I answer all of them. Even on my Instagram, you can DM or write any comments. I'll go ahead and reply. I'm not that famous. You be sure to stay to the end because you're gonna learn the benefits of borrowing against a 401k to acquire property, also the cons. But more than anything, you're gonna go ahead and be empowered with information to have a conversation with your financial advisor, if this is right for you, as well as a mortgage lender and the administrator of your 401k. So let's get down to it. So I know it's very scary, and guys like Dave Ramsey and other traditionalists will be absolutely terrified about borrowing money from your 401k because you know what? This is retirement, the nest egg. But there are some options here and flexibility that people don't really share with you. So if you had a time machine and you're able to go ahead and have a conversation with your future self, you'll basically be borrowing against your future self's money and or retirement. Now, if you could, the question would be posed whether your future self would permit you to borrow against so that you can purchase a home today. So 401ks are set up where they allow you to borrow for the purpose of real estate, the purchases of real estate, where you go ahead and you can repay that throughout a period of time. This isn't to be confused with an early withdrawal, which usually it's a penalty of about 10%. We're not talking about that. We're talking about borrowing against, not an early withdrawal. Yeah, although it's not a early withdrawal, you do have to repay this. And there are some serious penalties if you do not repay this agreed upon loan. More of the caveat here is that in most cases, you can borrow up to $50,000 to acquire your next property, whether it's for investment purposes or if it's for your own personal place of residence. And it may not be the full $50,000 you're aiming for. So decide and determine this wisely through mapping out your finances. Some people, their biggest setback is not having closing costs, right? And this right here can be the catalyst to get you over the hump. When talking to your either financial planner or the administrator of your 401k, whoever is handling it, it's your responsibility to go ahead and map out what's a comfortable repayment plan. And as long as you're on time, everything is all good and tax-free. Here's another added benefit to it. You've already agreed about how to pay back this loan against your 401k. And yes, every loan has interest on it. It's not 0% interest, right? It's none of that. But that interest is going to none other than yourself, your future self that we spoke about earlier. When we're considering about how much we can borrow against, some of us might have $50,000, and that might not be too much for someone that's looking to buy. But depending on where you're at in this position, you'd have to determine whether it's for you or not. But what if I don't have up to $50,000 to even borrow against? Let's say you have about $10,000, and that's exactly what you needed to acquire a home now. You can borrow up to that $10,000. So if you can kind of get the theme here, yeah, $50,000 or $10,000 can be applicable wherever you deem fit. And when we're talking about investors, think about this. Yes, I'm based out of New York City. It's not possible to acquire an investment property for $50,000 on a regular basis, right? That's not very frequent. But outside of New York City, there's an abundance of investor opportunities where $50,000 is probably the Taj Mahal of funds available that you needed. So really think about this. Now let's get back to the benefits of how 401k can assist you in your down payment. It can absolutely help you save tens of thousands of dollars when it comes to mortgage insurances. If you go back to our video speaking on FHAs, I kind of briefed on the differences. These insurances that you're paying on top of a loan, if it's anything short of a conventional sized loan, you're going to pay all of this and it's not going to be applied to the principal. That's in addition to the principal. That 401k, borrowing against a 401k, can be the funds necessary to be in a position to be in a conventional status, thus avoiding it. Are you with me? Make sure you go ahead and write that if you are. And another pro here is that you're borrowing against money that you have earned anyway. It's yours, it's no one else's. And another benefit, as I mentioned prior, when you're repaying this loan, the interest goes all back to you. And again, that's the purpose of growing your retirement account, correct? This is money that's yours and you've worked hard for it, and you're not paying back your rich uncle with interest. It's going back into your retirement. And with this retirement, you're acquiring an asset that acts as your retirement sanctuary as well, as it's an asset. This is my favorite benefit, and it's totally tax-free, just so that you stay on par with your repayment agreement. Totally tax-free. As I mentioned earlier, go ahead and speak and be advised by your financial planner and or a local mortgage and trusted mortgage lender. They can go ahead and further explain these options to you. I could almost guarantee that 9 out of 10 times a financial planner will tell you absolutely stay away from taking money from your 401k or borrowing against, let's be clear. Just not touch it, just let it sit there, keep growing it, and you see it when you retire. So then, in what situation might this be beneficial to you? And as I mentioned earlier, what if you're that buyer that is looking to avoid all the penalties of not having a full down payment amount for a conventional loan? Furthermore, a local and trusted mortgage lender will go ahead and explain those differences to you to the T. Another person it might be good for is that person that is looking to be a first-time homeowner. If you go ahead and think about it, even if your rent is $1,000, let's just say $1,000 a month, that's $12,000, 100% lost. At least in this case, you're going ahead and leveraging one retirement account and setting up another retirement asset that you can also continue to leverage out, even if it's not your primary residence or whether it is. And statistically speaking, on a 100-year average, we know that real estate appreciates at a rate of 3% annually. Now, let me remind you, this then becomes an asset that is driven toward your retirement. Last way this is a good decision for you is if you know for a fact that you can repay the loan back. It is not for you if this is a compromising situation. This is if you could afford it. Again, be advised by your planner and or your lender, and discuss what are the terms of your own finances to see if this is a flexible option for you. With the cons, yes, there are there, because wherever there is any pros, there are cons, right? Yin and yang thing. With the cons, you may be looking at a higher monthly payment on your 401k repayment to bring it back to where it originally was. And in many cases, and confirm with your specific provider and or your employer, they may not feed into the 401k with matched contributions until that balance is repaid. In the spirit of your employer electing not to add any contributions or match contributions until your account is made whole, often your 401k may not allow you to have your own contributions until that balance is made whole or that account is made whole. And that's a talking point with your administrator to find out whether you can still allocate contributions while in the repayment status. Another thing to be worried about is whether or not you're going to remain with your company, of which is providing you that 401k. Is the 401k going to move with you if you decided to leave? those stipulations for repayment can go from anywhere from 12 months to 6 months having to pay in full before paying any penalties. So be aware and determine whether your job security and stability would basically allow you to leverage this situation as we've discussed. So again, that's part of the cons. Now I want to encourage you to go ahead and use these pros and cons to open up a discussion and find out if this is an option for you. But nonetheless, it is an option available to everyone. However, does it fit your lifestyle and your financial situation? That's got to be determined by you and other professionals that are specific to the financing, where are the administrators, again, your financial planner, and a local trusted lender. Now there you have it. You're all well equipped with knowing the pros and cons, and next is to discuss whether this is an option for you specific to your financial and living and work situation. But most of all, know that it is an option available to everybody and it's unique. So find out. So we got to the end. Make sure you hit that like button if this added any value to you. Hopefully you commented, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. But most of all, in times like these, be well.